Hi, my name is Jack Murphy, and I'm filling in for Greg Everett this week on All American People. Today we kick things off at the new Sidewheeler. Some new history, some old history, and a man who's going to set us straight on that course of history. Coming up on All American People. Well, hello there. Welcome to All American People. I get to fill in for my good friend Greg Everett. You know me, Jack Murphy, and we have our humble beginnings of a show I do called River Talk right here along the river. In fact, this is kind of sacred ground, and we'll probably talk about this in just a bit. Our guest Larry Biddle, no stranger to our paths crossing here along this little section of dirt.
That's right, Jack.
Many times. Good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Great to see you, sir. Thank you.
How you
Appreciate the
been?
invitation. Been great. Terrific. Yeah, out and about, you know, no dull moments, and what some people call Biddle mania.
Is that what it's called?
That's what some of my friends
That's what
call
you
it,
just
yeah.
dubbed. It'd make a great shirt.
I know.
You know, and Charlie Sheen's got a good guy who can give you a discount on
I heard
those.
that. Yeah, that's good.
Well, let's talk about this phenomenon here, this wonderful Waccamaw River. I mean, Conway is really super duper blessed to have this, and they're really just beginning to tap into the potential of it.
That's right. You know, these wooden warehouses, all of which are on the National Register. The one right down from us here is 1880, where we just had River Reverie on Saturday, which is a celebration of the river and the land and the culture and the people and the food. And then this one is 1890, which was the Sidewheeler, and now has been had a fire and redone,
Right.
and now it's really a hall. And then the Peanut Warehouse was 1900, which is where we dedicated the porch to Strom Thurmond, where y'all had your reception.
Yeah, my lovely wife. She had that vision.
She had it,
Or
I'm
you
telling you.
stoked the fire in her or something, and the next thing, I mean, there were pigeons flying around in there when this idea was presented to me.
You're right, there were.
And you know what pigeons do? They do a lot more than just fly around.
That's right.
And I was, I caught on to the vision a little bit. Wow, there's always something going on there.
It's amazing. These three warehouses, many weekends, are all got something in them. One of the principals of Five Guys and Fries, you know, they have those,
sure,
those down
yeah,
here
yeah,
now.
the chain,
He was just married in the Peanut Warehouse where y'all were married this past Friday. And of course, they use peanuts in their business, as you know.
Okay.
So
They
they
probably got
love
a
being
better
in the
deal
Peanut
than we
Warehouse.
did,
Yeah,
yeah.
I bet they did. I suspect they already had some in stock. But they did a great job. All the wedding party stayed at the Cypress Inn. They walked the Riverwalk all the way to this apron north of us. Had the wedding out there, came back, and went up through the Gothic arches of the 1937 bridge into the Peanut Warehouse with all the fanfare in there, and all done with natural greenery and burlap, and it was just exquisite.
That had to be nice.
Very nice. Yeah.
We were captivated. I think the Toledo scale.
Yep.
With my wife being from Ohio and Toledo.
Yeah.
And coming from that, and knew where the plants were manufactured as well, you know, where those scales were made. So it was kind of neat.
Yeah, it was. It was, you know, you guys were the scouts, and I don't call them pioneers or settlers. The scouts are the first ones out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the pioneers. They didn't go first. But Barb had the vision, and it's just continued, and it gets better and better.
Sure.
You know, it's powerful. And matter of fact, the Spadoni wedding was in a national magazine called Unveiled. It was the talk of New York City at the last bridal show. I think that wedding was in November, so right afterwards, sometime January, February, they were all in New York City, and the Peanut Warehouse was the talk of the town.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Really
I can
phenomenal.
point to that and say, I was there first.
Yes, you
It's
were.
pretty neat.
Yeah.
Well, this is special. Now, the name Sidewheeler is pretty cool because
is.
this is a different river than what you'd see a paddle boat on.
It really is. Sidewheelers were built by the Burroughs Company back in the late, right after the Civil War, I guess, somewhere in the 1870s or 80s. And the wheelhouses had to be on the side of the boat because the Waccamaw really twists a lot and turns going from here to Georgetown. And so a paddle wheel type craft just wouldn't work. So they built the Sidewheelers, and there are lots of them. I saw in the paper, I think it was Monday, they're talking about the Civil War, which is really today. The starts on the 12th, I think. But there was a side wheeler in Georgetown at the wharf. If you saw that color picture, it didn't have any it didn't have any of the things on it, but it was down there because they ran a lot from Charleston and Georgetown to here, to these warehouses where they stored they were naval stores, obviously, and but it's a special boat, and there were several of them, a half a dozen plus, and so we named this one after those on purpose because this is where the side wheelers came, and Conway goes back to 1732, so that's rich history.
Now, what was the original name? Was it Kings?
It was Kingston. Kingston, and really, when we just finished Life in the Carolinas, historic Conway. We realized last year that Conway's been bypassed by 501 for 50 or 60 years, and then by 22 by even more. We realized that we never told the story of Conway, historic Conway, outside of Overy County much. You kind of had to stumble into it, and everybody gets on 501, they're ready to get to the beach, and they're zooming over there, and so on. And so we've told the story. As a matter of fact, this past weekend, the 4th time this show is aired. It's a 27-minute show. You can go to YouTube and see the whole thing, Historic Conway. There's 3 segments. But we've taken the Conway story into about 4 million homes in the last 6 months.
Wow, that's pretty neat.
So more and more people are really deciding, you know what, this is unbelievable. And it is. It's a great historic town. You've got all these unique things, these wooden warehouses, oak trees, the river culture. That's a 12-million-year-old Waccamaw River.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and wasn't built like the Intercoastal Waterway, which was dug in World War II, as an inland passage. This one's the real deal here. And so, more and more people are realizing the historic buildings and all the things that we have are really unique, and that's powerful.
Well, this is a quiet riverfront.
It is.
San Antonio is one of my favorite cities.
Yeah.
But it's hustling and it's bustling, which is, if you go to San Antonio, you expect that.
That's right.
But this is kind of a unique riverfront. Do you see some development here down the road, or is
well,
or is
I think
this
we will have some eventually. It's all a timing thing, and especially, this was a restaurant, obviously, originally.
Sure.
And because of the economy and whatever, and a fire and a few other things, we found that we had a lot of people wanted to rent it for functions, weddings and receptions and reunions and trade shows and you name it. We had the bridal show in here, and there were 100 brides in this building looking at planning wedding things in Conway because it's picturesque. It is very natural. So I think eventually there'll be some things, probably residential over retail, some other things like that. But that's all gets driven by the economy and supply and demand and what.
Sure.
Right now we just use the warehouses as the function, but there's something going on all the time.
Yeah. Well, you touched on this before we got started. The word meander.
Yeah, it's really a key word.
Yeah.
When we first started looking at all this, before there was a Riverwalk, and this river had grown up extensively, so a lot of people didn't really think about it. Come over that bridge, and you don't think about where the river. A lot of people get to the foot of the bridge and say, "Where's the river?" Well, you just crossed it. But anyway, so it was grown up and so on, and a lot of these sycamores that you can see probably behind us.
Yeah.
And when the planners came to talk about a Riverwalk and what should we do with this river, they said, it's very unique because there's nothing like this on the eastern seaboard, primarily because most of the communities that had rivers, they took the entire urban grid right to the water. They said, think about Savannah, they took the urban grid. Charleston took the urban grid.
Sure.
Georgetown took the urban grid to the water. Wilmington took the urban grid to the water, but Conway did not. Conway, because of the Burroughs family and all these lumber mills and things that were down here at the time, this Riverwalk, they said this Riverwalk can meander, and it does. It's on the water, it's off the water. We cut a hole in it for a cypress tree. That we don't want to cut a cypress tree. We don't cut trees in Conway much.
Yeah, not very often.
And we said just cut a hole around it. That's how you do that. Oh, okay. So that word meander really made a lot of sense. And then when we did the charrette on branding Conway, which was done leap year is when we unveiled it. They used that word, and they said, come to Conway, you can walk on water, which you can, and the land.
Sure,
and so,
yeah, more or less.
The Riverwalk.
Of course, if I went out there, they'd say I couldn't swim.
Yeah,
There'd be
that's
more
true.
under the headline. So,
But literally, you can, and you know, this is, of course, we've got a little rain going on today, but you know, you see people out here, and when it's not raining, there's a lot of people on this Riverwalk.
yeah.
And so, you know, this is the third phase of it. The third phase is the final phase, and you saw some gateways, and you know, it goes all the way down to the marina, and goes up here and turns up right up here and crosses the railroad tracks and goes all the way up to really 905 on the sidewalk. So
Sure.
it's a neat, beautiful, picturesque, simple, quiet walkway.
You learned history in a hurry because you married into the family. You're from a whole different part of the world, like I am.
Right.
But you've kind of called this your home.
Oh yeah, you know, Jenny and I were married here in '64, and so we've been here since then. No, '65 is when we came, and yeah, ever since. But you know, if you're in a historic town, but we had lived 2 years in Madrid, so I was into the history. That's the old history
yeah,
when you're in
old
Madrid,
stuff
Spain.
there, yeah.
And so it wasn't anything for me. And my town where I grew up in Sacramento, and of course Denver's got a lot of history, and Sacramento had a historic riverfront, so that kind of helped, you know. And you know, I don't know, I was a history minor, I guess, and so, you know, it was okay. I like it. It's powerful. Can't forget it.
Well, education has always been right there in the forefront of your story as well, hasn't it?
Yes, sir, it has. Yeah, kind of an educator and a businessman, which a lot of people across the U.S. call a weirdo.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
I've been called worse things.
Yeah, because, and we've discussed this a lot of times too, because weirdo does come into play. I mean, that approach, I don't know why. I mean, regardless of what you're going to have to deal with business, regardless of what you do in life.
That's right.
And I think we need to do a much better job. I mean, we have to. We haven't been doing it in a while, and I love this country. It's the best on earth, but some folks have caught up with us and passed us in some areas.
Yeah, the rest of the world is outworking our kids, there's no question. And when we finally realized, now several years ago, over 25 years ago, that our schools are the most important businesses in town, and we started applying business principles to get more results with more kids, things began to click, and it's been strong. And all that began, you know, at Conway High School on January 20th, 1984.
Well, we're here to talk about a little bit of the Conway High School Educational Foundation. Explain the approach, how that all got started, Larry.
It's really a cool story. We had started down this road, which was the #1 program originally. Jostens came and it became Jostens Renaissance. There were 4 assistant principals, Mary Owens, Bernice Allen, Chip Brown, myself, and Mike King. The end of the day is about 4:30, 5 o'clock. We were kind of looking at our day and how's it going, what's tomorrow bringing, and what's the week look like. You know, just a typical day. At the time, Mike King was the principal, and so we always met at the end of the day and kind of said, hey, this worked, this didn't work, hey, we got to watch out for this, or here's something, whatever. Just kind of looking at, kind of debriefing. And in came Marshall Sasser. Marshall is a urologist, retired now. But at the time, one of his inspiring teachers was a man named S.L. Lemon, who had inspired him to go into medicine. And Mr. Lemon had just passed away. I think my wife had Mr. Lemon. He was a math teacher at Conway High, and greatly respected, and you know, he taught a lot of kids mathematics. I mean, he was just that good. Anyway, so Marshall walks in that day. We're there. He walks in and he says, hey, here's a check for $3,000. And we said, what for? He said, well, I want to endow a chair in honor of Mr. Lemon, who's the reason I'm a doctor.
Wow.
And we said, wow, well, no, don't give it to us, Marshall, yet. Can you just put it in the bank? And can you just leave it there for about 6 months? We've been talking, we've heard about a foundation at Spring Valley High School in Columbia, and we want to go up there and take a look at it because we think we ought to have a foundation at Conway High School. And Mary Ann Stalvey, who was in the math department, my assistant principalship was math, science, and foreign language, so I was working with those teachers. And Mike King and I said, you know, as we begin to move and we begin to establish business partnerships with educators and businesses, really, can we free up Mary Ann Stalvey one period a day, preferably before or after lunch, so we can start making this thing happen?